Women are gradually making their leadership presence felt in local, regional, and global levels. Today on the show, we will talk about what it takes to break the glass ceiling as a young woman. This is Code 0292, and my name is Lungile Ngwenya. Welcome, Sky, to the show.
Thank you.
So, as a young woman and as the founder of Young Women's Alliance, maybe you can tell us what leadership means to you.
Oh, okay. Leadership is it's the ability to influence, it's the ability to exercise your power, it's the ability to exercise your voice and your choice. Yeah, so I would say that's leadership for me. So as long as you are able to use your voice and your power to influence a particular phenomenon, then you are a leader.
All right. And for women, how different is it for them to actually use that power and become leaders?
I would say, if I'm getting you right, you're saying how are we using our
Yes.
power as women to influence things around us?
Yes,
That's the
definitely.
question.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so women are there's a number of women, a lot of women that are in leadership positions. Politics, we have women in the corporate world, we have women in civil society, pressure groups, you name it. So there's quite a number of women, and the number keeps on growing. Yeah, every single day. So I would not mention names because there's a lot of women that are doing great things in Zimbabwe. We have our women in Blawayo. We have our women that are doing great. The examples you talk about when we go to civil society, we have great women like Samu Kumalo. We have Tandos, the young women that are coming up. We have women in mining. Nicole, she's doing well. We have got women like you in media. We have women in politics. We have the Bimbais who are doing great. So, yeah, I think we are in the right direction, although we're still not at 50-50 with men.
Okay, so what would you say are the characteristics that make all of these women that you have mentioned so far? What are the characteristics that make them leaders and influential?
There's no, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing, because everyone is a leader at their own circles, in their own groups, and they're doing different work. So I would say they are all unique. Samu is a leader in civil society. She leads a women's organization. It's very vibrant. It's she's very influential. So what's unique about her is that she's able to do well her own work. And Bimbai was campaigning for political office 2018, and then now she's running the parliamentary magazine. So that's great. That's perfect. It's unique. No one else can actually do what Bimbai is doing, because that's her own path that she chose. So we also have great women like Priscilla Misiairambi. She's a politician, she's a feminist, she's doing great. No one can be Priscilla. Priscilla is Priscilla. So everyone is unique in their own way, but they are all leaders that are doing great work. So, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about you as Sikhangele Ngwenya. What makes you different?
What makes me different
Yeah.
is that I'm a girl's girl.
Alright.
I understand girls. I think that's one unique thing about me. And also I understand, like, the things that we go through every day. You know, there's a lot of tension that comes with women. There's a lot of competition, and some people call it pull it down syndrome and all that. I don't believe in that. I believe in society where women can come together, where women can have conversations. If you maybe follow me somewhere or ask around, I hardly have those, if any, conflicts with women, because I don't understand why there's so much competition, why there's so much snapping, there's so much hate and all that. Why must we put each other down? So my strength is that I try by all means to understand the next girl. Yeah.
All right. So from what you're saying, would you say that in this day and age, women are the cause for some of them not being in leadership roles, or the whole gender balance is still at play?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Would you say that the pull her down syndrome that you're talking about, is it the reason why some women are not in leadership positions, or is still the gender balance is still at play?
Okay, just to be politically correct, I don't believe there's pull it down syndrome. All right, but I will try to explain why there is a perception like that. I would say it's a perception because it's not a truth. No one did a research on that, so there are no findings.
But
there's nothing.
But there's a name.
But there's a name to it. I don't know who came up with the name and where it was coming from, but the general feeling is that there are a particular group of women who are gatekeepers of patriarchy. So they are not wrong, because patriarchy is a system. It's not men, it's not women, but it's a system. So they might feel, some people might feel that they are gatekeepers. Of course they are. I also believe they are gatekeepers. Not only men, some women are gatekeepers of patriarchy. So they feel it's okay for a society that is just like that. So we cannot blame them, because that's how they were socialized, and also we don't know what they are getting from that, and also what they believe in. So when they are gatekeepers, we then say they don't want us to go there. You understand? They are not pulling us down. No, we are just not pushing enough, maybe. So if you woke up in the morning and decided there's someone who's pulling me down, what are you going to do about it? So we need to get to that level where we say, okay, this is patriarchy. These are women that are gatekeepers of patriarchy. So these are the strategies that we're going to do. If it was that bad, we wouldn't have women in politics, because that's the dirtiest place. So we wouldn't have those kind of women. And if you check the past elections, we had more than 1,000 women who were contesting for council. You understand? But a few made it to the office. So this is a sign that even though they're gatekeepers, even though people talk about pull it down, even though people talk about the gatekeepers and all, we still have other channels that we can use to get to the other side of the road.
Okay, and which channels would they be? Because if you're already saying they're gatekeepers, other women, they are there and they are guarding patriarchy, and they are making sure that there's that balance where men are in leadership.
Okay. Now you're asking me about strategies that one can use to get to the particular. If you check where we're coming from in the women's movement, maybe you come back from Obolos here, you move with it, you go to Iraye colonization, you go to the rise of Omjuru, Omamumjuru, you know, Opa, they were part of the struggle. Patriarchy was still there. And then you move to the MTC formations, you talk about the Bo Priscilla, you talk about Otokozani, you talk about Tabitha Makumalo, and then you move with it. Now we have young women in parliament. In South Africa, the youngest is 21, right? We have Malawi, she's also 22, she's there. But patriarchy is still there, which means we are not at a position where we can be talking about glorifying patriarchy. It's there. So what then are we doing? So maybe then people who go, especially in politics, were related to someone in parliament, like in influential positions, you know. If you look closely, the women that were there at that particular time were in leadership. So they were related to someone. And then with time, people always have mentors, people have godmothers, even godfathers who help them to go to such, although some are being blamed for sleeping with people in power, you know, buying their die for marks, whatever thing, there's a cocktail of names that are given to women who rise to power. But it's still possible. It can be clean like that, and you can actually go. And sometimes it's just the work that you're doing for the community, because you cannot just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to parliament. So there are processes that you need to do. For example, if I were to go to parliament maybe in 2023, I have to be doing something right now in my community, you know. So, and then you go. It's not always the case, but there are so many challenges that you can do. Because people, one, vote for parties, two, people vote for people that they know. So are you known? Which party do you belong to, especially in Zimbabwe, now that we don't vote for independent candidates? So it's a cocktail of things that we need to consider, especially when you want to go to that to parliament or council or any political office. For civil society, it's different. It's a matter of identifying the gap. What is your passion? What is your vision? Where are you going? Like, what is it that you want to address in the society? And then if you want to do mining, just go to the mine. If you think you are good in agriculture, just go there. Don't do agriculture and then you go to civil society and then you are in parliament like a confused person. So there's a whole lot of things to learn before you go to.
So you need to do your research.
You need to do your research, but the most important thing is to know who you are. Who is Lungile? Where are you going? Where are you coming from? Where do you see yourself? What is your vision? If you are a leader, in what platform, where, how? So those are the things that you need to, you know, it's a journey of self-discovery.
And I think there are sentiments where people, I like what you were saying about how some women, when they achieve great things or when they are now in leadership positions, they are called names. They are told that there was a die for a mark, those funny phrases and all.
Yeah.
So is it because of those names and because of all of those things that happen, when those critiques, if I may put it that way, that women get, would you say that some young women pull back because of that? They might pull back and try to be behind a man instead of taking the leadership position themselves.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of women think they would prefer not to go into that drama. They prefer not to have that kind of drama in their lives. But you know, it all depends on who you are and who is around you. So someone once said, if you've never been called a worry, then which means you're not doing anything. Because any other woman who is in power right now, who is influential, at some point in their life, they were called Maori, auntie. And I remember I had this conversation with a guy from church. He was saying to me that feminists don't get married. Like, how many feminists are married? But then you ask yourself, what really is feminism? If you believe in equality of sexes, you're a feminist, whether you're a man or a woman. So, and then, you know, there are these perceptions that a feminist cannot get married. A feminist is a wure, it's a brigade of angry women. It's a safe space for lesbians, things like that. And then so most women would, or let me say some women would prefer not to, you know, be associated with that kind of a thing, even if they wanted to. But there are some who would actually just call me Ori. I don't lose anything. You don't take anything away from me. So what? If I'm not married, then what? So as long as I'm happy, because as a leader, you need to get to a point where you realize you focus on the bigger picture. You focus on the prize. Where is it that you are going? So where I'm going, if someone said I'm a worry because I'm that influential, because I'm so much of a challenge, then let it be. So yeah, we just have to be strong. They call you names, they call you all that. Just focus on the prize.
And they also say well-behaved women seldom make history.
Yeah, so you gotta be worry. Yeah,
you need to
don't
be
lose anything.
radical.
Yeah, no one is going
You need
to
to push.
exactly. And it doesn't change anything. How many times have we have people called Tokozani Hori? How many times have people called Opam Chinguri a Hori? But guess what? She's doing well, she's happy, you know. At the end of the day, it's about your inner peace. If what you're doing, if your work is giving you inner peace, happiness and all, why must you worry about what everyone else is saying? So it's important that you focus on you.
So earlier in the discussion, you mentioned something about role models, and you also mentioned something about mentors.
Yeah.
So how significant are they in making sure that a woman takes up a leadership position?
Yeah, as much as there are other channels that one can use, some young women are making it without really mentorship, and it also depends on your definition on what a mentor is, because you can't just wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm looking for mentees, and you know, you don't have to be in contact with that person. Sometimes you can just be reading about them, you know, you can just be listening to people talk about them, you know, and you get inspired, you follow them. That's mentorship. So but sometimes people prefer, you know, like continuous conversation without really formalizing to say, okay, Lungile, I'm now your mentor.
Okay.
You know, and then maybe you realize after some years that someone actually followed you, someone actually was inspired by your work, so they then took that route. But most of these let me avoid saying most. Some of these people, even men, they have got their mentors, their godfathers, you know, to help them through the journey. You have something, for example, civil society. Sometimes you get arrested for some campaigns. You need someone who is always going to be there for you, not necessarily your colleague, but someone with a higher power than you, who can actually make things happen for you. And sometimes you get into some meetings or conferences, and you really hope that you would talk to someone more influential. So what you need is someone who's going to introduce you to that particular person. You understand? So it's very important to have, it's sometimes not more role models, but relevant people. Like if you are a politician, who is in your circle? Who are you talking to? Who is advising you? You understand? So you need someone who's going to introduce you to someone, at least, especially if you are developing, because it's not easy to start something. It's not easy to pursue and actually make it. So you need people to be introducing you to some people. You need a network of people, and that's through mentorship and grooming and everything to do about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So would you say that is the environment in Bulawayo, is it accommodative for aspiring young women who want to be leaders? Is it accommodative for them to actually flourish and be the leaders that they want to be? Because you have mentioned quite a few, and
Okay.
yeah, they are in Bulawayo, some of them.
All right. To start with, it's not a Bulawayo issue, but I suppose it's a national issue.
Okay.
We don't have resources, and one of the things that stood out for me in the past election is that most young women who were there never got the platform to campaign, like the usual campaigning, you know, the rallies and everything. Some didn't even have flyers, so they didn't have resources. They were not able to then go all out, and this is one of the reasons why they didn't make it. And a lot of chakalaka of issues that contributed to their losses, and also being independent, being in these other parties. You know, I'm sure you know Parliament is just made up of your ZANU and your MDC. So those who didn't belong to those particular parties didn't make it, except for Mliswa and the other colleague from Midlands. So resources is an issue, and it also affects us as Matepelele young women. And also, I think our proximity somehow, yes, geography, we're always behind in terms of, access to anything and everything, because things start in the capital city, and then by the time it gets here, it's diluted. So there are so many challenges that we're facing, especially those who want to take leadership positions. I'll speak for one. Now, having to be part of the young women's movement, every other resource comes from embassies are in Harare. So now, whether you write your proposals, whether you do what, everything is in Harare. So you have to go there. So can you imagine someone who doesn't have money to go to Harare or attend particular strategic workshops where you can meet people? It's so bad. I'm not saying it's so bad for us Matepeleland, but for many young girls in Zimbabwe, because access is always a challenge, and that's one of the reasons why we had to come up with this young women's movement, because donors or NGOs would say it's a women's movement, but how many young women were part of the movement? What were they doing? Are they having positions? What is their role? Even in politics, when you look at young women maybe 5 years ago, they were just voters. They were just cooking, crying in funerals, things like that. But with time, you then realize that, okay, this is a big constituency that also needs to be part of the real movement. And we have women's wings, the youth wings. Like this other honorable said, wings of what? Why must we be wings? So there's youth wing and women's wing. So you find in the youth wing, the people who are running with the agenda is the young men that are there, who eventually are upgraded to the main wing. And then the women's wing, it's actually the women who are experienced, who have been there in the party. Like, for example, if you look at the PR, they will tell you that you have to have 5 years experience in the party, things like that. But you are only 21, so which means I have to wait until I'm 28 for me to do something at least which is productive in the party. So those are some of the challenges that women, young women are facing. So I hope you are happy. But yeah, those are some of the challenges.
But what can be done? You're talking about resources. There are no resources, and you have no money. You want to start something, but you don't have money. You're trying to go for those meetings where you can meet someone who knows someone, and you can't do that. What can you do then? Should you just go home and sit down and cry and watch a movie? What are you supposed to do?
No. Home, you go home to sleep in the evening. Like some are lucky to just like that, they meet people and then they are there, But for some, it's really a challenge. It's really a challenge. But one of the things that we should always have as people, as young women, is this: your passion is enough to take you to where you want to go. We must never give up. It might be so bad today, you try to talk to people and like, all right, you can leave your number, like what they do when we go for work interviews. They're like, no, we'll get back to you, call you. So you don't give up because someone said they will call you and they never called you. And I suppose when you want to really pursue something, you keep on, finding out, researching about it more and more and more. It's unfortunate for some of our girls who are in rural areas who do not have access to internet and all that. But there are other organizations that are working there trying to give them information and all that. But for people in cities, as long as there is no money, we always have to try to find the gaps. What are the gaps that are there? in terms of what can you sell, what can you provide. If it's you are working for this, what is your input? Like, what is the gap? What is information that people need? So we really have to keep on researching about what solutions we can bring. Clearly, there are problems. So we definitely have to be part of the solution. So there is no
Clean cut.
to finding a solution in making it. But we have to keep on surviving.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we close, you are an entrepreneur and you are also a of a vibrant young women's organization. What would you say are the things that you have learned from the time that you started your organization?
Just today, I think that, everyone is so resourceful. It's very, very important to treat people politely. Tolerance is very, very important, because guess what? You can meet someone today and they are of no use to you. And then you meet them in the next 3 months and you find that actually this is the person that I really was looking for. So tolerance is very, very important. And also I've learned to, tolerance, acceptance, like that's my lesson number 1 before we talk about any other thing. And also reading. Reading is a very important culture for young people, for everyone, especially those who want to lead. A conversation that you can have with the person that reads, it's so different, like it's so like unique. But a mind that doesn't read, I'm telling you, it's boring. It's boring. So that's one thing that I've learned, and I'm developing this culture of reading, just for not for for anyone, but just for me to improve my the way I talk. It opens your mind and all that, and you get in some conferences where people are talking about things and you find yourself like you're so clueless, and some of the things you remember that there was a module like this at school, but because you were reading for the exam you forgot about that. So I've really learned that we have to read. There is no way that you're going to make it. You have to read. Maybe one day you find yourself in parliament, people are talking about policies, about issues, where we're coming from as a country, and you're so clueless. You're asking yourself, did this happen in Zimbabwe? Did this happen in Zimbabwe? This Zimbabwe that I'm saying. So it's very important to read. And the other thing that I've learned is that networking. Sometimes you don't put a lot of work into some things because you know certain people. You understand? So it's important to network, know people, exchange contacts and things like that, just to reduce your work. Just to reduce your labor and effort. Sometimes you put a lot of effort doing things that you can actually get for free somewhere. So yeah, the importance of networking is very important, and also just be aware of what's happening around you, like in Africa, in the world, just being in touch with what is the reality of things. So I would say those are the things that I've learned. And also money is very important.
So as an entrepreneur and as a founder of Vibrant Young Women's Organization, what are the lessons that you have learned so far throughout your journey?
Okay, I've learned tolerance and acceptance. Why am I saying that? Is because the people that we meet today are probably people that are going to help us in future. So it's very, very important for us as people, as human beings, to tolerate and accept and appreciate what other people are doing or how they are, just to do away with the culture of hate and all. So I've learned that. And also another thing that I've learned is that it's very important to establish networks, especially when you are thinking you are going to be this big thing in the future. So you have to establish your network. Sometimes you find yourself paying for things that you might have gotten for free from someone because of the network. And sometimes, people can just refer you that, oh, there's a girl who can do this for you, there's this who can do for you, oh, you are looking for this, I can give it to you for free. So it's very, very important as someone who is growing up, so as someone who is trying to, set a footprint, to have networks that will otherwise help you. Sometimes you need someone who's just going to introduce you to someone, just to say your name. Oh, okay, this is who she's coming from, where, and then you take it from there. So that's one thing that I've learned. I've people that have, did that for me, that have helped me a lot. I found myself in places that I never imagined I would be because of people that I know, because of the networks that I've established. So, and also what I've learned is that money is important. Money answers everything. The Bible says that. So it's very, very important to make money. It's a process. You will not have money just over a week, over 2 months or so. But you just have to be consistent. You just have to know your craft. Just keep on doing it until you make money. Why am I saying money is important? It's because so many young women are abused because they probably got married to people who are primarily taking care of them. So you are prone to abuse because of that. So money will at least go to a certain degree in protecting your interests, and in trying it's very easy you having conversations with people who are making money. So I suppose you command a certain respect when you're making money as a woman, you understand. Gender-based violence, domestic violence, people, young women who are broke, some of them are abused based on that. And you cannot even leave that abusive marriage because you don't have money. Look, this is your survival, so you cannot leave. You certainly have to stick it out with that men abusing you. So not saying it's okay for them to abuse young women. It's very wrong. It should stop, because if you marry someone like that and then all of a sudden you expect them to have money, what the hell are you talking about? So it's very important for young women to look for money, and also in platforms like any other platform, when even a church, like when you park your car outside, or when people are choosing committees and what they look at what you're wearing, like you're offering and all that. These Pentecostal churches, they will say 50 is going up, whatever. So if you can afford to give 100 every, definitely you will get a post and you are influential all of a sudden. So money speaks for you understand. So no matter how good you are, look at our artists, for example. They are so good, but they don't have money. So money will always make you, relevant and influential and things like that. Look at geniuses. We don't know he's influential somewhere, but we know he's got money. So money will speak for you, and you get invites in some of the places because you are doing something to the community. So that's just my journey in life. And reading, we have to read books just to improve ourselves, just to improve how we argue, just the nature of our conversations. So it's one thing that I've learned, that it's very, very important to read and know your stuff. Get into a room, talk about issues, not to be thinking, is this me? Like, am I in Zimbabwe? Or sometimes you go to gatherings where there are young people, vibrant young people. They're talking about what happened in Uganda. They're talking about we need to borrow lessons from Malawi, things like that. South Africa is doing this, and then you'll be like, is there something wrong with me? So yeah, that's my life lesson.
All right, thank you so much, Ka, for coming to Code 0292. And thank you for watching Code 0292. From me, Lungile, it's bye for now. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Center for Innovation and Technology, and also follow us on our Twitter page at SiteZW. See you next week.